we have three different types of women. One that is the traditional, cooks, cleans, takes care of the house, takes care of the kids, spends the rest of her time in today's world shopping, going to qraya, going to her friend's house, maybe just going around the mall, seeing if there are any special discounts happening so she can buy things for the house or for her family or nothing, very innocent life, but has no purpose, has no meaning. And I'm not trying to undermine.
But what if that gives her fulfillment and meaning? Who are we to say?
No,
What
no,
if
no.
that fulfills her?
Let me actually speak of the three types of individuals,
Sure.
and I will actually give my opinion in the end.
Sure.
Not to undermine the fact that, if she's taking care of her children and she's creating a home that is peaceful with tranquility, that is the greatest gift that she can give to society and her family.
Right.
And there is a second type who lives in illusion that the social media, having likes, having comments, having more followers, having to show her physical appearance to the world every single moment, flashing her life every single moment is going to bring her happiness. And that's an illusion that we cannot fight this illusion, because the people who are creating it know better than we do. They're becoming trillionaires.
Yeah.
This industry has basically made every human being a consumer.
Right.
You're ultimately going to fall in this trap that what you are now, what you're doing, the way you dress, the way you eat, where you go, where you behave, no, it's not good enough. Look at all those other, influencers on social media. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they're eating. Look at the hotels
Right.
they go to. Look at the way where they go shopping. And there's this illusion that will make me happy. Let me strive
Right.
for it. And
Right.
and it's like the slaves that built the harems, the pyramids in Egypt. They were all under the illusion that this is some way going to create a salvation for all of them, but they didn't know that they're just being enslaved to do something for a specific entity, or today an organization or a business,
Right.
or individuals who are becoming trillionaires, who are hundreds of billions of dollars, yet there is poverty, yet there is, no, the 25% of people living on this planet do not have clean water to drink, while some people are racking up the billions, hundreds of billions. So they actually fall into this illusion, and they spend their life looking for that happiness, but it doesn't actually guarantee you happiness. Even if you get 1,000 likes, you want 2,000 and the 5,000, and then you want the million followers and what have you. And then you get to a point where you realize this was all a mirage, it was fake, but it could be too late, because people then would suffer from depression, anxiety, they're unhappy, uncontent, even though what people see is, oh, this person is so happy. And then there's the third type of individual who doesn't say, my happiness is important, but not only my happiness. There's a reason why God put me on this earth. I have to have a mission. I have to have a vision. I have to be a servant of God. I have to make sure that I somehow make a difference in this world. There are so many things that I could be involved in where I can leave a legacy. And I can be, in my hijab, I can be in my, practicing all the tenets of Islam, and I can make a difference. And those are the followers of Fatemah. Those are the ones that are out here to make a difference. And realize that there isn't, you don't have to be a man. You don't have to be a male. You don't have to, in order to make that change, in order to be a leader, in order to make a difference in society.
Right.
And I remember, I want to say this right now. I wasn't planning to say it, but I just remembered. A while back, I spoke in Muharram, actually. I spoke of influencers, female influencers on my platform, and I got a lot of mixed messages. In fact, I got a lot of heat, or hate, I should say, from a lot of my sisters, and I don't understand why, because
I shared that post. I shared that because I agreed with you, and a
Yeah.
lot of sisters gave me heat for it.
And I don't understand. I think they completely misunderstood and misjudged me. And here's why. I'm actually speaking about this for the very first time ever, probably the last time. because I had, prior to that, said so many times that, sisters, if you don't step up, if you don't decide that you're going to make a change, if you are not going to be part of the decision making, if you do not become scholars, if you do not become leaders, if you don't ask for this position, for this, for this change, it's not going to be given to you. Okay?
No,
So you need to step up. You need to understand that this was the role of Fatima, and this was the role of Zainab, salawatullahi wasalamuhu alayha. And we'll get to this. So then I praised individuals who have social media, who are using social media to raise funds for the children of Yemen, to make a change, to teach people, to create awareness. I am the first person, I actually was the first person to say, this is nonsense. We cannot harass those people just because they're in hijab and they have social media pages online. It's very funny how if a woman in hijab makes a mistake, 1,000 people think they have the responsibility to attack her. Not the right, the responsibility.
Responsibility.
If he doesn't attack her that day or that night, he can't go to sleep. Khalas. His life is over. Now, but if a man, a religious man, okay, who sometimes even teaches religion, breaks the principles of hijab publicly, then we don't feel as responsible. We don't feel as courageous, let's say, to do that. That is extremely hypocritical. Yes, people may make mistakes here and there. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's,
Absolutely.
We don't, under the bio, there isn't anybody that says, I am infallible, please follow me. No,
that does not think exist. They are. Some think they are, though.
So basically, I was the first person to say, you know what, stop harassing those people. But I was also trying to make a point that if you've left your whole life, you've basically left everything important to you, and you're just telling us, today I got a Gucci bag, tomorrow I'm buying Louis Vuitton, today I'm wearing this jeans. Well, why should we care? Well, why does that have to be important to me or to the rest of the world? If that is something that makes you happy, bless you, do it. Let it make you happy. Enjoy your life. But don't revolve your entire life around this. Why don't you use your platform for greater causes? So some of those ladies, my sisters, my respected sisters, reached out and said, Sayyid, but we're doing this. I said, why do you think I was talking about you? Why do you think that I was attacking you? In fact, I'm supportive of you. And may Allah bless you, if you've done charitable. I'm not speaking of you. I'm speaking of those who really have no purpose. So I'm for all those individuals who are involved, but have a greater role. Please have a greater role in life than just your shades or your bag or your jeans. Please, because life will pass by so quickly and you will be left with nothing. And soon enough, Instagram is going to close down. Something else is going to come up and you're going to have to start from zero. So don't get infatuated with this mirage that those companies have created for us. Use them to your advantage for your dunya and for your akhirah. So with that said, what I want to say is, Fatima was that kind of person. She had a role. She had a purpose. As a mother, she had responsibilities. She was, like I said, not in the best financial situation. Her husband was out of the battles or with Rasulullah. She had purpose. She was a leader. She was a mother in the same time, and the best mother. And she had a purpose in life. Today, a lot of women, when we tell them this is what you have to be, they say, Sayyid, we don't have time, we can't, it's too much, we have children, we have responsibilities. As a mother, and I know you're a mother, as a mother and as a person who's leading in our community and as a person who's giving back, generously giving back to our community, and you're helping people out there, what is your number one advice to all the sisters who've joined us this evening?
Such a big question, and have to respond very carefully. And I do want to address that issue you brought up earlier, because I've gotten some flack for that as well. But I'll answer this first. We'll discuss this first. It's not easy being a woman in this world, even though we have things a lot easier, perhaps, in terms of technology and how advanced we are compared to the patriarchal tribal warrior society that we came from before the Jahiliyyah and onward, right? So we do have so many things that's so much easier, like these, nifty devices, what we're doing. But we've also come across so much more challenges in terms of trying to balance and figure things out as well at the speed of light almost. And it's, our brains are taking on so much that it's hard to balance everything, right? First, we're encouraged, all right, school, you got to do school, do well in school. Some people are not encouraged. Women are not encouraged. You're going to get married. What's the point of having an education? When we are encouraged in our own faith, seek knowledge from cradle to the grave, as far as China, right? So you have this encouragement, but at the same time, well, what's the point of getting that education? You're going to get married and have a whole brood of, a Jaish al-Mahdi at home. What's the point of getting that degree? The point of getting that degree is for you, okay? And to encourage your children to get that education. You can use that education to absolutely work and contribute back to society and to your families and to yourself. Or you can still have that degree. And I know many sisters who were students at the same time when I was studying, my sister's friends and my own friends, who themselves became teachers to teach their kids at home. They became their children's teachers, and they all have their own little Jaish al-Mahdi.
Like homeschooling, awesome. You mean?
Yeah, so they became their children's teachers.
Is that what you do, by the way? I'm sorry, I know this is a very private question, but is that what you do with your daughter, or no?
No, she goes to
she goes to school.
She goes, and very proudly, as she says, Ahlulbayt Islamic School.
Oh, wow. So you're very lucky to have an Islamic school there.
An Islamic Shia school here in Ottawa, alhamdulillah. Where I have to say, and I proudly say, that I used to teach there myself while I was a student at school, doing my graduate studies. And I said, inshallah, ya Rab, if I have a daughter one day or a son, this is where I want them to go. So alhamdulillah, that niyyah and that wish came to life. Alhamdulillah wa shukr. So it is an important school in our community, and I have to brag amongst the best ones, one in Ottawa, and amongst the best ones in the province. That's something to be very proud of as Muslim Shias, Alhamdulillah wa shukr, a blessing. So I teach my daughter what I can at home, but I know the school also teaches her. And as parents, we have to do balance, right? We can't just expect the schools or the Islamic schools to teach our kids. We have to sit next to them and sit and teach them Quran. Even if we grew up if we're second generation and we don't know it as well, that's okay. We still have to show the love. For me, for example, at home, as a mother, as inshallah, a follower of the Ahlulbayt, and I've been criticized when I make fun of or make comments about why are Muslims celebrating Christmas with Christmas trees when we have Mawlid Sayyidah Zainab, for example. Like, you're completely dismissing or ignoring or not valuing what we have in our own traditions and teaching and creating that for our children. So as mothers, that's a huge responsibility that we have, and it truly depends what your goals are for yourself and for your family. Sometimes we just follow the trends. And that kind of fits into the type of person you were describing earlier. You're just following the trends mindlessly because it's cool to fit in. You like that and you just want to do it. But truly, is that going to get you to the ultimate goal of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So when we look at the modern contemporary woman in today's society, truly it depends on her upbringing, how her family taught her, how her community also groomed her. Example, I come from a family where education was absolutely important for both the males and the females, even though I come from a very traditional Iraqi household where there's so many limitations around women, right? But my dad, being a highly educated man himself, and my mother, by the way, who never finished school because she didn't have the ability for school, but she's so street smart and cool. She got honorary degrees from all of us, alhamdulillah. She's the one who chose to be a homemaker in every sense of proudly, every sense of the word, but her goal was for us to succeed through our education, indirectly later for her getting those honorary degrees. MashaAllah. So this type of household, fostering education, academic success, that was instilled in me young, and I believe in that, but maybe have different views on how to implement that with my own daughter, especially given that she's third generation. Completely different than I grew up, where at 1 year old, she knew how to swipe the phone, and that was quite an eye-opener when I saw that. So as mothers, we can do it all, okay? We can, but we have limitations sometimes that don't allow us, and it's okay when we can't do it all. A role model, Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam, Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, they showed us that you can do everything. You can potentially, meaning that we have the ability. We are all different in terms of our levels of potential and ability and intelligence. For example, some people can go into the social sciences, the English, they have the brains for them. And others can go into maths and sciences. My daughter, for example, mashallah, she can't memorize very well, but she is a whiz at math. So I'm going to nurture and encourage that. Of course, still encouraging her to do other things as well to strengthen them. But this is where I see she's strong at. So encourage her in that, right? So same thing when it comes to our different women. It's what is it that you are good at, right? Nurture your abilities. It doesn't mean we have to reach the perfection that these infallible role models had. That is impossible. But they are an inspiration for us to still be able to take care of our homes, but still meaning in this day and age to balance it with the help of our husbands, of course. It can't be all in our heads, and work and cook and clean and take care of the kids and school runs and groceries and this and community response. That's impossible. We are not these super creature women that can do these types of things. And there's some women who have the ability to do it more than others. And it's not fair to compare yourselves to such women. Perhaps their situation is that they have an amazing husband that helps them with the cooking, right? And they clean up, or vice versa. So this gives them the time to go to the gym. This gives them time to go to community events. This gives them time, ABC. Some women, they have to do it all because they have, the typical man, sorry, Yani, but you know the scenario, typical perhaps man who expects everything to be ready, and he wouldn't even change the diapers of the kid because that's beneath him and his dignity, right? You have this scenario as well. Well, you know what? At this day and age, how many women are going to put up with that? I'm sorry, not that many, because this is also taking advantage of the woman who is a giver of her nature to give and take care and put others before herself, right? And she's running out of options in terms of drowning with all of these pressures, right? So, sure, we know the Sayyidah Fatemah alayhi salam did not complain, did not, seek support and help because she was the role model who set that for everybody. We try to work towards that. But also, what did she, like the Sayyid just told us, what did she also do? She had a role in society. She was an educator after being a student. She educated the Sahaba, the Prophet. Like, she educated incredible people. So does that mean that we can't do that as well? And can we not do that on social media and society with modest hijab? So this comes now to the second point where you had brought up earlier in terms of you got a lot of comments and heat for saying what you did. And when I heard that, I laughed my head off when I heard that. I'm like, oh, that's point on. That is on point. Absolutely on point. We don't really care about what you're eating. And then I remembered, oh, I like to cook and show that, But for me, it's not about in terms of I care about what people see, what I'm eating, but I'm really talking about healthy foods most of the time, or things that I'm fascinated by in my travels. I like to share, I call myself somewhat of a foodie.
You can put pictures of, you buying a new car or a new dress or a new bag. That's fine. That's all of those. I'm not against those because
there's no rules about that.
No rule.
But
I'm not judging that, but have all of that for a greater purpose. So if you're trying to give, advice on food to have a following, if whatever you like, exotic cars, you go on vacations, all of that are beautiful things. Actually, I enjoy them. I think that, social media is a perfect platform for it. But please, in the end of the day, have a greater purpose.
Right.
Don't let all of that just go to waste. Imagine if your account closes down. Have you really used all those individuals who follow you or look up to you or admire you for one greater goal? So if you're using that in order to, for example, raise money for people that can't afford medication, to buy medication, that can't go to school, to support them to go through school, if you're supporting widows, you're supporting orphans, if you're doing that and at the same time showing us how you like to vacation or what car you got or the food, that's fine. We'd love to enjoy that with you. But my specific conversation was with those who really have nothing else besides telling
And
us what they.
focus, exactly. And the focus on that, again, is on the material aspects of life. Again, is
Yes.
this going to bring you closer to God? How is this going to
No.
inspire other people? It's going to make people feel terrible about themselves. They are constantly, and when we talk about social media, how does it cause depression, anxiety? It's exactly that. People are looking at these accounts and these people who are leading so-called perfect lives when it's just a mirage. It is fake. Most of these, huge influencers, when you hear them break down and talk about it, I had to take 50 pictures before I got that perfect shot to get money off of, and so on and so forth. I want to add to that. When I hear young women tell me, and young Muslim women tell me, I want to be a hijabi fashion model. Where are we now? Are you kidding me? That is where you see yourself being. A hijabi fashion model. That is your ultimate goal now, or a YouTuber. Maybe I'm outside of this generation. I feel terribly old for saying this and probably very judgmental, but really, this is what it's come to now. But this is the reality too. These are actual positions where people are making money off of, encouraging people not necessarily to seek an education and knowledge, but take the easy way out in this Insta world that we're living in. And we see this as a problem as professionals in the field, working in a university, working with young people. It's all about that Insta everything now. And when I hear young people telling me that they want to be YouTubers or this and that, it astounds my mind when I come from a generation where my dad was a physics professor and a researcher, and we had to get that A+ in physics. People now are talking about wanting to be YouTubers, right? So there's nothing per se wrong with that if you can use it for the positive and the good of others and educating others, rather than mindless nonsense that people are caught up in now and mindlessly scrolling through and looking through and being addicted to modern addictions when it comes to social media, the internet, and all of these things that have no value and purpose. So back to the point of women, because I've got an issue with that myself, is that when people start talking about, why are you doing this? Why are you showing yourself off? Why, this immodest way of fashion when it comes to hijab now, this whole other industry, probably $1 trillion industry now, when it comes to Western fashion designers realizing how much money they can come off of making a Michael Kors abaya in the Emirat and selling it to princesses in the Gulf. It's gone to a whole nother level. Absolutely, we have more options now than us heading up these regular stores and matching to make a modest clothing. It's gone to a whole nother level. Part of it is amazing. We have all these amazing options of wearing modest clothing. But my dear sisters, please do not confuse your amazing identity as a Muslim woman with what the agenda is for us to become assimilated and lose ourselves in the Western society of this feminism that is out there. You are a queen. Do you understand, my dear sister, with your beautiful hijab of Sayyidah Zainab? Had it not been for Sayyidah Zainab, you would know what hijab is today. She saved your hijab. She saved your Islam, your religion. Whatever Islamic division that you follow, had it not been for Sayyidah Zainab, you wouldn't be here following that today. So when we talk about role models, when we talk about women being able to do everything, it is possible for us to do a lot with the support of our men, our fathers, our brothers, our husbands, our male community, real men, because there's a difference in, you and I've spoken about this, Sayyid, between men and males, aka mules, as you quoted them to be. So it's very important, my dear sisters, have pride in your amazing hijab. You can do anything you want, of course, within Islamic boundaries, right? And respectful boundaries that you put your heart and your mind to. Know what your intention is, know what your goal is. When you're posting pictures of you pouting and all this makeup, what is the point of that? And I'll come down to the root of that when we talk about it in general, not just our Muslim sisters, but our men too in tight t-shirts and muscles. Really? Come on. What are you trying to prove? Fitness and health? Sure. We don't know what your intentions are, but it's fitness and health. Great. Teach us. But be aware of hijab as well. But it comes down to the root of self-esteem and confidence, right? And putting your worth on whom? On the ideals of others? Your worth is completely independent of all of these external factors. Your worth as a human, as a soul, as a being, as a woman, as a man, is dependent upon your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is when we talk about psycho-spiritual type of content and information, your worth is completely independent of these external materialistic aspects of our worth that we put a lot of our worth and energy on. I worked hard to get to where I am today with my parents' support and education, blood and tears. I tell you, I lived through the Iraq war that happened in 2003. I was actually there and ripped apart from family before coming back here and working hard to get my graduate studies, working hard on what I believe in psychology and mental health. And as a female, muhajjaba, I was probably amongst the only women in my program with a hijab who looked like an ethnic minority. To the point, when I was doing my graduate studies, my professor in micro-counseling, when he talked about Eastern psychology and Western psychology, and I said, well, where's the middle? You skipped completely over it. He said, that's what you're going to research. Hence, where I focused on Islamic counseling and psychology, I did my graduate research on that, developed models based on the little translated and awfully translated books that we had, excuse me, and connecting with scholars and researching that way the little articles that we did have on the internet at the time to where we are today, where you and I are having this conversation around psychology, mental health, and Fatemiyya. How did that happen? Like this? No, it didn't. Because it took blood and tears and sweat. It took being a mother, a wife, as well as a single mother to get to what I'm doing today. It's not easy. I know it's not easy, my dear sisters and my brothers. But when you put your mind and your intention together in terms of why you are doing what you're doing, with what we are taught, if you call yourself a follower and a lover, the Shia of the Ahlulbayt alayhim as-salam, it's not going to be an easy road. It's not. It's going to be challenging. No matter what you do and say, people are going to speak about you. Again, we reflect back. Do you really care about what they have to say? Is your worth dependent upon what they have to say? Is your worth dependent on how many likes and followers you have? Absolutely not. You are an incredible human being as you are, with your challenges, with your strengths, with your limitations, with your life circumstance. You do the best that you can with your circumstances. I learned this from Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam, with her voice when speaking out against injustice. I learned this from Sayyida Khadija, a working businesswoman, mother, wife. I learned this from Sayyida Fatemah al-Zahra, that you can wear modest hijab and speak out loud in front of men, in front of women, in front of a community that doesn't agree with you. Absolutely you can do that, but have self-respect for yourself as well. You are going to have enemies and you're going to have supporters. Who are you going to align yourself with? We do see a lot of young women who compare themselves with people that they shouldn't compare themselves with, and then they feel worse. And then when men and scholars and other men speak about it, they get really a lot of heat on them for speaking out.
Yeah, one of the things that we actually got, one of the responses that we got was, why is a man talking about this? And well, I actually thought, you know, once I do stand up for the rights of women, and once I do press for the change in the way that they're treated or mistreated, you rarely see people say thank you for saying this, and we appreciate the fact that you're doing this. But when you do things that they kind of don't like, or it makes them a little uncomfortable, then you hear about it all day. But there's no problem in that.
You said the truth. You've hit a nerve.
You said something
That's why.
That was actually very beautiful. I want to reiterate. You said that Fatemah al-Zahra and the Sayyidah Zainab spoke to a huge audience of people who opposed them, or may have not agreed with them. And Fatemah was the first to do that. And when she went and she spoke directly to Abu Bakr and Umar and the Muhajirin and the Ansar, and though the masses burst out crying, there was somebody there who had an extreme difference with her opinion. Sayyidah Zainab was, in the midst of fire when she spoke of those things, but it shows as though that just like Imam Hussain was immersed in Iman and Taqwa and piety and the love of Allah, and it allowed him to do what he did, a woman as well, such as Zainab, such as Fatimah, can be immersed in Taqwa and piety and the love of Allah to an extent where she can also not see all her surroundings but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then have that courage. So I hope that resonates with a lot of the sisters listening.